The Premier League has seen numerous iconic stadiums come and go throughout its history. Some were replaced by modern arenas, others made way for housing estates. From Middlesbrough's Ayresome Park to Tottenham's White Hart Lane, these venues witnessed countless unforgettable moments. But economic pressures, safety regulations following Hillsborough, and the desire for higher capacities led to their demolition. In this video, we take a look at the disappeared stadiums of the Premier League and their stories. Ayresome Park served as home to Middlesbrough from 1902 to 1995, before the club moved to the Riverside Stadium. The team had played at various different grounds since their introduction, but due to the new Football League and growing support, Middlesbrough needed an improved stadium and found a home at Ayresome Park. A friendly against Celtic opened the stadium on the 9th of September 1902 in a 1-0 win for Middlesbrough. The ground quickly became a fortress for the club over the following decades. Ayresome Park was chosen as one of the venues for the 1966 World Cup, where North Korea famously knocked out Italy at the ground. However, attendances at the stadium for the World Cup games were surprisingly low. The stadium continued to serve Middlesbrough well into the 1990s, but with the founding of the Premier League in 1992, Middlesbrough became the first English club to start work on a new stadium, as Ayresome Park lacked the possibility for renovation due to surrounding housing that made expansion impossible. The last competitive match was played on the 30th of April 1995 in a 2-1 win that sealed promotion for Middlesbrough's return to the Premier League, where they would move on to the Riverside Stadium. The stadium was finally demolished in 1997, making way for a housing estate. Several of the old walls remain, as well as football-themed street names such as Turnstile and Midfield. The old gates of Ayresome Park were preserved and still stand in front of the Riverside Stadium as a reminder of the club's heritage. For over 100 years, Burnden Park played home to Bolton Wanderers. Opened in 1895 and closing its doors in 1997, the stadium held 70,000 people at its maximum, while in its final 20 years, the stadium held 25,000. The opening game in August 1895 saw Bolton take on Preston in a friendly match. Expansion came over time, taking the stadium to its full capacity as almost 70,000 showed up for a game between Bolton and Manchester City in 1933. But it was on the 9th of March 1946 that tragedy struck. An FA Cup second leg game between Bolton and Stoke City saw 85,000 people crammed into Burnden Park, meaning the embankment terrace was way over capacity. This resulted in the crowd being pressed forward and barriers breaking, causing 33 deaths and over 400 injured, making it the worst British football disaster at the time. From then on, safety measures were put in place to control crowd sizes. As Bolton's fortunes on the pitch faded by the 1980s, crowds dwindled down significantly. Plans were put in place to build a new all-seater stadium in the early 90s, and the last match came on the 25th of April 1997, when Bolton defeated Charlton 4-1 as they moved on to the Reebok Stadium. Demolition took place 2 years later, and now an Asda superstore sits on its site with photographs of former players and the stadium displayed above the checkouts, offering shoppers a glimpse into the ground's storied past. The Dell was home to Southampton for over 100 years, from 1898 until 2001, before their move to St Mary's Stadium. The first match saw Southampton defeat Brighton United 4-1 on the 3rd of September 1898. Initially, the Dell had 2 covered stands for seating and 2 natural banks for standing spectators, holding approximately 24,500 fans. The compact ground became known for its intimate atmosphere and passionate supporters. Major development took place in 1928 with the construction of a new West Stand. The stadium became the first in England to install permanent floodlighting in 1950, a pioneering move that demonstrated the club's forward-thinking approach. The Dell witnessed countless memorable moments throughout its history, including FA Cup victories and European nights. In the wake of the Hillsborough disaster in 1989, all clubs in the English top two divisions needed all-seater stadiums. This brought attendance at the Dell down to 15,000, the smallest capacity in the top level of English football. By the mid-1990s, the club needed a bigger home to compete financially with other Premier League clubs. Southampton confirmed their move at the end of the 1998 to 1999 season, with St Mary's Stadium ready for 2001 to 2002. The last competitive goal was scored on the 19th of May 2001 by club legend Matt Le Tissier. Fans said goodbye to the Dell on the 26th of May 2001, taking seats and pieces of the pitch home as souvenirs. The stadium was demolished on the 13th of July 2001 and replaced by a housing estate with apartments named after famous Southampton players, preserving the memory of this beloved ground. Filbert Street was Leicester City's home for 111 years, from 1891 to 2002, before the club moved to the Walkers Stadium, now known as the King Power Stadium. The ground was named after the street it was located on in the heart of Leicester. The first match took place on the 1st of September 1891, with Leicester Foss, as they were known then, defeating Burton Wanderers 4-2 in front of 2,000 spectators. Over the decades, Filbert Street evolved significantly. The main stand was built in 1921, and further developments continued throughout the 20th century. At its peak, the stadium could hold over 47,000 fans, though this was reduced to around 22,000 after conversion to an all-seater stadium following the Taylor Report in the wake of the Hillsborough disaster. The compact ground created an intense atmosphere that visiting teams found intimidating. Filbert Street witnessed many historic moments, including Leicester's League Cup triumph in 1964 and promotion to the Premier League in the 1990s. However, by the late 1990s, it became clear the aging stadium couldn't meet modern requirements or generate sufficient revenue for a Premier League club. Plans for a new stadium were approved in 1998. The final match at Filbert Street was played on the 11th of May 2002, with Leicester defeating Tottenham 2-1. Emotional fans took pieces of turf and seats as mementos of their beloved ground. The stadium was demolished in 2003 and the site was redeveloped into student accommodation for De Montfort University, bringing an end to over a century of football history on Filbert Street. Maine Road was home to Manchester City for 80 years, from 1923 to 2003, before the club moved to the City of Manchester Stadium, now known as the Etihad Stadium. The ground was located in Moss Side, south of Manchester city centre, and became one of English football's most iconic venues. The first match took place on the 25th of August 1923, with Manchester City defeating Sheffield United 2-1 in front of 56,993 fans. At its peak capacity, Maine Road could hold over 84,000 spectators, making it one of the largest stadiums in England. In 1934, a record crowd of 84,569 attended an FA Cup sixth round tie against Stoke City. The stadium also hosted FA Cup semi-finals and England international matches, cementing its status as a premier football venue. Maine Road witnessed many memorable moments throughout its history, including Manchester City's league title, victories, and cup triumphs. The stadium was also famously used by Manchester United as their temporary home from 1941 to 1949, after Old Trafford was damaged during World War II bombing raids. By the 1990s, Maine Road required significant investment to meet modern standards. Following conversion to an all-seater stadium, capacity dropped to around 35,000. The club decided a new stadium would better serve their ambitions. The final match at Maine Road was played on the 11th of May 2003, with Manchester City defeating Southampton 1-0. Fans said emotional goodbyes to their historic home. The stadium was demolished in 2004 and replaced by a housing estate, with streets named after city legends, preserving the memory of Maine Road. Highbury was Arsenal's home for 93 years, from 1913 to 2006, before the club moved to the Emirates Stadium. Located in North London, the stadium became one of English football's most iconic and revered grounds. The first match took place on the 6th of September 1913, with Arsenal defeating Leicester Fosse 2-1 in front of over 20,000 supporters. The Art Deco East and West stands, built in the 1930s, gave Highbury its distinctive, elegant appearance. At its peak, Highbury could hold over 73,000 fans, though this was reduced to 38,419 after conversion to an all-seater stadium following the Taylor Report. Despite its reduced capacity, Highbury remained one of football's most atmospheric venues, with the famous North Bank and Clock End creating an intimidating environment for visiting teams. Highbury witnessed countless historic moments, including Arsenal's league titles, FA Cup victories, and memorable European nights. The stadium saw the legendary teams of Herbert Chapman in the 1930s, the double winning side of 1971, and the Invincibles of 2003-04, who went an entire Premier League season unbeaten. However, the limited capacity meant Arsenal couldn't compete financially with clubs that had larger modern stadiums. The final match at Highbury was played on the 7th of May 2006, with Arsenal defeating Wigan 4-2 in front of an emotional crowd. Thierry Henry scored a fitting hat-trick in the farewell match. The stadium was redeveloped into luxury apartments called Highbury Square, with the iconic Art Deco facades preserved. The pitch was transformed into a communal garden, allowing the spirit of Highbury to live on. Upton Park, known as the Boleyn Ground, was home to West Ham United for 112 years, from 1904 to 2016, before the club moved to the London Stadium. Located in East London, it became one of the most atmospheric grounds in English football. The first match took place on the 1st of September 1904, with West Ham defeating Millwall 3-0 in front of 10,000 supporters. At its peak, Upton Park held over 42,000 fans, though this was reduced to 35,016 after becoming all-seater. The compact ground created an intense, intimidating atmosphere that visiting teams feared. Upton Park witnessed historic moments, including West Ham's FA Cup victories in 1964, 1975 and 1980, plus their European Cup Winners' Cup triumph in 1965. The final match was played on the 10th of May 2016, with West Ham defeating Manchester United 3-2. Winston Reid scored the final goal in emotional scenes. Fans took seats, turf and memorabilia as keepsakes. The stadium was demolished in 2016 and replaced by housing. Streets were named after club legends, preserving the memory of the Boleyn Ground. White Hart Lane was home to Tottenham Hotspur for 118 years, from 1899 to 2017, before the club built their new stadium on the same site. Located in North London, it became one of English football's most historic venues. The first match took place on the 4th of September 1899, with Tottenham defeating Notts County 4-1 in front of 5,000 spectators. At its peak, White Hart Lane held over 75,000 fans, reduced to 36,284 after conversion to all-seater. The ground witnessed Tottenham's greatest achievements, including the double-winning season of 1960-61, FA Cup victories, League Cup triumphs, and UEFA Cup success in 1972 and 1984. The final match was played on the 14th of May 2017, with Tottenham defeating Manchester United 2-1. Harry Kane scored the final goal in front of emotional fans. The stadium was demolished in 2017 to make way for the new Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, built on the same hallowed ground. Parts of the old stadium were incorporated into the new design, ensuring White Hart Lane's legacy lives on. Roker Park was home to Sunderland from 1898 to 1997, before they moved to the Stadium of Light. One of the most memorable grounds in English football, Roker Park was finally a place Sunderland could call home, after spending numerous seasons at various different grounds. The stadium became a symbol of the club's identity and was beloved by generations of supporters. The ground hosted several England internationals, as well as World Cup games. During the 1966 World Cup, the stadium was known for having the Roker Roar, an intimidating atmosphere created by passionate home fans. Home to Sunderland for 99 years, Roker Park was a fortress for the club. Over 1,800 league games were played there, and Sunderland maintained a fantastic record at the ground. The connection fans felt to Roker Park was so strong that many disagreed with the move to the Stadium of Light, and that connection is something every Sunderland fan still feels today. The 1996-97 season was the last for Sunderland at Roker Park, which was also Sunderland's first season in the Premier League, ending in relegation for the club. The last competitive match at the ground was a 3-0 victory over Everton, a fitting send-off for the historic venue. Roker Park was closed in 1997 and then demolished a year later. Built in its place was a housing estate with streets named after various Roker Park features and football-related names, preserving some memory of what once stood there. The legacy of Roker Park lives on in the hearts of Sunderland supporters.